The Salt Wives are back, y'all. I was living for this first episode. I love it. I love this group. And Brittany, girl, you all right? Cause damn.
Welcome to the Asia Esterak Hour, where film meets conspiracy and pop culture gets a reality check. From sharp recaps to sci-fi theories and media deep dives, Asia Esterak serves it unfiltered. Let the binge begin.
All right. Welcome back to the Asia Esterak Hour. I'm Asia Esterak. Oh my God. Okay, y'all. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 1. I love Salt Lake City. Oh my God. I just like that the setting is a little more different from all the other shows, all the snow and mountains. I love it. Anyway, so we open with Miss Angie K. Can I just say, her first season, I didn't like her. Fell in love with her last season. I love her so far this season. I love her relationship with Mary. I'm not looking forward to that unsettling, unfortunate events coming up. But anyway, anyway, so we open at Angie's house, and her and Mary have done a Class A getaway trip for the ladies. She said that she wanted them to bond, especially after what happened after the reunion last year, because everybody pretty much read Lisa Barlow's ass for filth. Not surprising. And so she wanted to do a little getaway with everyone and have them travel in an RV because nothing says drama like a bunch of housewives locked in an RV together. So Mary shows up. I love Mary. Mary is so blunt and honest. I love it. So she rolls up and she sees Angie stepping out of this RV. The RV was nice. It was deluxe. It had, I forget how many beds in it, but it had enough to accommodate all the ladies. So Mary's like, when they ride up, and the first thing she does is comment on Angie's outfit. She was like, "Why are you dressed like you're at the office?" To me, she looked like a tour guide. It was giving tour guide on the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland. I was here for it. So they get on the RV. Mary's kind of making jokes about it. And then Angie, they have a driver, but Angie is the one that's actually going to drive to the spot where the other ladies are waiting. That was kind of funny. So the other women are all at Heather's beauty lab in the front waiting to get picked up by Angie. So they're all like, so out there, first of all, so we have Whitney Rose with her new red hair color, orange color. I like Whitney. I do not like this hair color on her. For me, this type of hair color would look cute on like a pixie cut versus a shoulder length bob. Whitney's beautiful. She can make anything work, but I kind of feel like it took away from her versus added. I just felt like pointing that out. I still like Whitney. She still looks great. And she did some, I'll get to that later, but I respect her for what she came out about herself later on in this episode. Anyway, so you got Whitney, Meredith's there, Brittany's back, she's there. Of course, Heather and Bronwyn in the fabulous fashions. I didn't know what was going on in that confessional, but I still like Bron. I love her over the top outfits. I love it. Shit, I'll wear a wedding gown to fucking Walmart. That's just me. I dress how I feel on the inside. So anyway, they're all standing around and they're like, well, has anybody talked to Angie? Do we know where we're going? So we learned that Angie sent out a sort of a cryptic invitation saying that they were going on a getaway. But on the flyer it says bikinis, blessings, and boots or something like that. And there's clearly a beach, a bikini, and like a martini in the sun. So they're all trying to figure out where this like getaway is, where they're going, right? So they all are asking like, who are we missing? We're missing Angie and Mary, and then Whitney's like, and Lisa. So Meredith's like, Lisa's not coming. She's not coming. So Heather in her confessional is like, well, let's go over who's friends and who's feuding. So basically, Meredith doesn't like Brittany. And remember, they got into it at the reunion. So they're not vibing. Um, Heather isn't a big fan of Bronwyn. Bronwyn, Whitney, and Angie are not vibing with Lisa. And she says that she doesn't know where Mary stands with anybody, but that's how Mary is. I love it because Mary will let you know in the moment if she's feeling you or not. Um, I love that they have Brittany back. Brittany, you are a dunce cap, a walking dunce cap, but you're good television. So anyway, Um, so Angie, they're all waiting. Angie pulls up in this RV and they're like, faces cracked, like, oh no, she didn't. She comes out. I fell out. Angie walks out. She's like, hello, ladies. That shit had me dying. In that zookeeper outfit, looking like a tour guide, that shit had me rolling. So they're all like, so Brittany goes, well, wait, where are we going? And they're like, this is it. This is it. So she's disappointed. You find out, she's like, I thought we were going on like a getaway somewhere. Turns out Brittany had on like a fur jacket, very bundled up. She opens it up and she had on a bikini. She had a bikini top on. I actually thought that was funny. Heather was like, wow, you took the invitation literally. So anyway, they all get on this RV, they all get on the bus, and they're in their pilot and they're joking about like them being in close proximity. Bronwyn, as you all know, is a germaphobe. So of course she's like, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna try to make it work. So they're sitting there chatting, and then Whitney goes, who is that outside the bus? So there's like SWAT team members walking around the bus, very reminiscent of when Jen Shaw got caught. And of course, Bravo rolled back the footage to when Jen Shaw was caught and they were circling the Sprinter van. So Whitney's like, so the one main guy walks up to the bus and he's like, we're looking for Whitney Rose. So she walks out and she's like, I'm Whitney Rose. And they were like, you have the right to remain excited or some dumbass shit like that. So they were a bunch of strippers. I knew they weren't real SWAT just by the way they were. It was funny though. So they all start dancing, and it turns out Whitney was like, I wanted to play a prank. We've done it at Beauty Lab before. I thought it would be in good tradition. I don't remember there being a prank. I remember the actual real SWAT team and the actual government showing up for Jen Shaw. That wasn't a prank, but maybe I missed something. I don't know. So so the strippers are on the bus and they're all throwing ones and dancing. I understand why Whitney did that to loosen the ladies up. I fell out because in the confessional, Mary was like, where are the muscles on these people? Like, where are the muscles on these men? And Angie was like, well, they're all kind of old. They're too young. And then Whitney's like, can you believe it was hard to find strippers in Utah? No, I don't find that hard to believe at all. At all. So they set off. They set off on this destination to this eventual campsite that they get to. Ciao. So they're on this RV riding, and Whitney's like, so why did Lisa not show up? So Angie's like, well, I did speak to her. So they flash back to Angie FaceTiming with Lisa. And Angie's asking her if she's coming. And she's like, no, I have to work. And I don't want to spend anywhere overnight with Bronwyn. That's the reason she's not coming. You ain't coming, Lisa, because you don't like Bronwyn, because Bronwyn wasn't going to kiss and lick that ass. Okay. She wasn't bending to your superficial will. Um, I'm sorry, Lisa Barlow is hit or miss for me. Sometimes she's really funny, but she has no substance. There is nobody behind there. I think the realest thing I ever heard her say is last year when she was arguing with Bronwyn and she made a comment like, I'm a one of six kids and I was ignored all the time, something like that. I was like, that explains a lot about your personality, that little bit that you chose to share. But anyway, so Angie is talking with her on FaceTime and she's like, basically, it was very obvious the reason she wasn't going on this RV trip was because of Bronwyn. She tried to say it was work. Well, I really do have a work thing, and it's like a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay. So back in the RV, Angie's stressing that, yeah, she said it was a work thing. And so Whitney's like, it wasn't a work thing. She doesn't have any work. She's just not here because of Bronwyn. And Bronwyn's like, don't throw it on me. So Brittany, who apparently now is besties with Lisa, I respect her for standing up for her so-called friend, but like, girl, shut up. That girl was not checking for you last year, but all of a sudden she is. She's only checking with you because she's not really getting along with anybody else in the group. I mean, let's keep it real. She got annihilated last year at the reunion, but everybody has their turn when it comes to reality TV. It's going to be your turn at some point. And it seems like this season it's the Lisa Barlow turn. So anyway, Brittany is like, no, don't say that. It's she's busy. She's got work stuff. Like, why would you say that wasn't real? And Whitney's like, because she doesn't like Bronwyn, blah blah blah. Um, so Brittany's like, don't throw shade because she's not here. So in her confessional, she's like, I'm not gonna let her throw shade about her when she's not here. I respect that. I would love to have a friend that would defend me in rooms that I'm not in if somebody's talking about me. So that I like, but slow your roll. Y'all been cool for like 5 minutes. Calm down. She was all in your shit last year. You jumped on her for being in your shit, and now you're her bestie. So what's funny, so back on the RV, they were like, why are you defending Lisa? And she's like, we've gotten really close. She's a really good friend of mine. So in the confessional, Heather's like, when did Lisa and Brittany become so close? Maybe you just have to ask Lisa. And of course, Bravo shady as hell. They show a empty confessional at Lisa's house. Talking about she's on a business trip with a bunch of question marks. So Brittany kind of starts taking jabs at Whitney, and she's like, and she goes, "What about your business and all the stuff that's happening online?" So apparently, Whitney has some TikTokers, which she later alludes to in the episode or addresses. She doesn't even allude to. She absolutely addresses it. Something about I didn't hear any of this. I've been in Facebook jail and Instagram jail since July 27th. Child, I don't know what's going on when it comes to that. So that was news for me. So I learned on the show. But I guess there's, unsavory business practice. That's what I'm seeing, alleging, whatever. So Whitney takes offense to that. She goes, "You don't know anything about my business. What do you do for work?" She goes, what do you do? Or you just sit around and suck dick?" So Brittany is like, "Why would you say that?" She goes, "Because you're coming from my businesses that you know nothing about. You're over here defending Lisa Barlow, and I was asking a genuine question." Brittany's like, "Well, you're not going to throw shade at her and talk about her when she's not here." So that subsides. So they're pulling into this campsite, which looked a mess. They pull in, and Bronwyn's like, "We have a busted down, broke down school bus." They start showing there's like broke down. There was a washing machine, I think, unless I'm making that up. I swear there was an appliance out there. It looked nasty. So they pull up, they get out. Angie's still being positive, and she's like, "All right, ladies, welcome." And they're all just like, "Okay, all right." So they come out. Turns out there's these picnic tables set up, and they're setting up the table so they can eat. I don't know if it was lunch or dinner. So they're sitting around. They finally sit down at the table. They had a cute little setup. Brittany with her announcements. "Well, I would like to make an announcement since I'm the camera girl," and they refer to last year when she was secretly recording everybody on the bus, which is where the tension between her and Meredith began because Meredith was not feeling that at all. She's like, "I wanted to give everybody some camcorders, little stuff to commemorate this trip." This was cute. So everybody got these mini handheld camcorders, and they were actually showing footage of the ladies filming. I want a mini camcorder. I'm an 80s baby, but I grew up in the 90s. So we were all about the camcorders. Me and my cousins making films and stuff. I love it. Little videos, skits, all that. So she passes them out. They're having fun. So they're sitting around continuing to eat. And they bring up Lisa again. And Angie's like, it sucks that she's not here. And they all actually speculated this also on the RV about how she's never missed a girls' trip. And they know it's because of the situation with her and Bronwyn. Um, which lets you know, Lisa, are you scared? I mean, really, Lisa, are you scared of Bronwyn? Because it's funny, but anyway, so they're sitting around, they're still talking about it. And then Whitney's like, "Well, all the stuff that's being said about her businesses and her, maybe that's not why she's here. Maybe that's why she's not here." So Bronwyn chimes in and she's like, she loves to deflect. She talks about all of us. And whenever we speak on her, we're all liars, but she never shares anything about her life with us. And she's dealing with some real stuff. And they're like, "Well, just spit it out, Bronwyn." Um, so apparently Lisa Barlow is being accused of not paying her bills. And that was the whole thing that allegedly, I ain't trying to get sued. But that's what Bronwyn was saying. Bronwyn's like, she's so busy worrying about my finances and your jewelry, Whitney, and what your husband did prior to whatever, Angie, and she's not talking about her own life. And that's true. Lisa don't talk about her life. That's why when she made that comment last year about growing up, that was a real moment. And I was like, that was a peek into who homie is. Big time. Um, but Bronwyn's like, she deflects and won't discuss her own life. She goes, "We don't know anything about her, down to what's good happening, what's bad, or even the bullshit going on in her life." And she's right. Because Lisa, you were the same one time, "I'm richer than everybody on this show." Girl, you took out a $400,000 loan that you haven't paid back. Really? So they're continuing to talk about Lisa, and then Bronwyn brings up the 5 current lawsuits that Lisa Barlow has. And Heather's asked, "What? What are you talking about? I haven't heard this." And they were like, Bronwyn's like, "It's literally everywhere." And Angie's like, "Yeah, it was in the such and such Tribune, some local paper. So apparently it's all over Utah." So they're looking at Heather like, "How did you not hear about this?" Um, and then Heather, what happened to you? Like for real, what happened to you? Why are you defending Lisa Barlow? Talking about I'm working on my relationship with her. Why do you always hang out with the mean bitches that really don't like you and just use you? I mean, is your self esteem that fucking bad? Like, girl. And anybody that watched the Ultimate Housewives Girls Trip season 3, where they were in Thailand with Heather, that was right off the heels of last Salt Lake City's reunion. So Heather and Whitney weren't vibing. So a lot of the stuff from the previous season had carried over to the Ultimate Girls Trip. That season, you really see how much of a follower Heather is. Heather, you're a follower. You want to be popular so motherfucking bad. Even Angie said that last year because she's like, I went to high school with Heather. She was always trying to be with the cool kids. And now you're over here sidling up to Lisa Barlow. Lisa Barlow talked about your looks, your weight, and called you a good time girl season 1. Fuck Lisa Barlow. And now you're over here defending her. And here's what's crazy. The fact that she's sitting there at this table with this lady, somehow I haven't heard anything about this. And it just seems like you guys are all reveling in the fact that she's going through these lawsuits. Now, I will say this. When they're going back and forth about Lisa's stuff, Angie, you were wrong. You were incorrect. And you know you was wrong. Talking about, she compares Lisa Barlow's lawsuits to Jen Shaw. You need to stop. We all know that Jen Shaw did criminal activities. Lisa Barlow has just borrowed money that she's not paying back. Period. Um, which is, not okay either. And even Meredith chimes in and says, well, people borrow money all the times in business. And of course, Bronwyn's like, yeah, but they also pay it back. And they're like, yeah. So they're talking about this. And Mary brings up that how she can talk about all of them, but she never talks about her personal stuff. This is the season. Lisa Barlow, your ass is in the hot seat. And I think the worst thing you could have done was to not show up at this girls trip. Because literally they just talking about you. Um, but Heather, you lost your weight and lost your mind apparently, because I was really disappointed in you in this scene. I understand that people can change, but Lisa Barlow she's a plastic and she's not even good at that. So Meredith kind of charms in and she's like, you know what? Let's discuss this with Lisa. And she's right. Like, quit talking about her. She ain't here. Let's deal with her when she gets here. So she's like, let's just stop talking about her and move on. Um, get ready for the rest of the day, basically. So here's what so when Meredith says that, Mary's next to her and they subtitle it. Mary was like, I can talk about her if she's here or not. I don't care. And then Whitney's like, amen. That shit was hilarious. Yo, I love Mary. Oh my God. And it was funny to see her cutting up with Whitney. Because weren't you calling her a little girl recently in the last few years? Huh? That was funny. Anyway, so Angie's like, all right, well, you're right. Let's table this. Um, so she goes, we have a couple of activities before the sun goes down. She's like, some of us are gonna go fly fishing, and the others gonna go kayaking. And they're all like, okay. They were like the mom and Friday. Okay. so so Heather's like, well, I'm gonna go kayaking, and Whitney's like, me too. Bronwyn, why don't you come with us? And then and Heather's like, they're like, don't push Bronwyn in the water. So they all go kayaking. Angie, Meredith, and Mary, and I can't remember who the other person was, but they go fly fishing. Let me tell you something. This scene had me dying. So Mary, Meredith, and Angie, it was Angie. They're all fly fishing, and the guys are teaching them how to fish, how to hook your bait, the whole nine, right? So they're out there, and Meredith goes, so typically how long does it take to catch a fish? And the guys are like, And she's like, typically how long do you think it would take, like from beginning to end? And he goes, well, that's why it's called fishing and not catching. Bitch, I died. I was like, ah! And then Mary, bless her heart, Mary goes, so so do the fish, do you keep them after, or do you bring them back to life? And the guy's like, yeah, we don't bring them back to life. That was hilarious. Um, so over the other ladies are kayaking, and Bronwyn and Heather are in this tiny little kayak together, and they're making it work. I could see them getting along, but here's my thing, Heather, you're not coming correct. And Bronwyn ain't about that bullshit, clearly, because she's not friends with her former friend anymore because of said behavior. So I don't know. I could see them bonding and getting together, but Heather, I don't like the following people. I'm not with that. I don't like that. You got punched in the eye. Heather, remember, you got punched in the eye covering for a bitch and continue to cover for her. So I don't know about you. I don't know about you sometimes. I really don't. I forgot to add this. Forgive me, y'all. So before they went on their excursions, back at the table, Brittany has another announcement. So they're like, "Oh my god!" And she's like, "So I just wanted to announce that me and Jared are engaged." And they're all like, "Jared was that same dude, the Osmond, the cousin of the Osmonds or whatever." So they show him and her in some like social media posts talking about she's the one for him and all this nonsense. So she's like, yeah. And they're all just kind of like, it's like crickets. And then she goes, but then we broke up. So here's what's funny. I was watching this with a friend last night. And after she made her announcement, I was like, they'll be broken up in 5 minutes. And then she was like, well, and then we broke up. And then she starts saying that the reason they didn't get engaged is because their kids didn't like that they were on again, off again the year before. Girl, y'all are not. I, Brittany, I'm gonna have an aneurysm trying to figure you out. My cat is gonna knock over this stand. Harriet, do not. You sure are cute though. Oh my god. So, so, so they were like, "So are you guys broken up?" She's like, "No, I still see him. I see him every day." And they're like, everybody's like, a collective just. So, Heather goes, "So is he dating?" And she's like, "No, we're still seeing each other." And Whitney goes, "Well, I see him all the time at the gym and he acts very single." So they're like, "What are you talking about?" And she says that she's seen him having dates with different women at the cafe in the gym. So they all start laughing about that. And Whitney's like, "Don't sleep on the food in the cafe." Once again, Brittany, we are on episode 1, and here you go. Here we go. I'll say this. The one positive thing I got out of that is she said our kids. Now, remember last year when she said her daughters weren't talking to her? So are her daughters speaking to her now? I hope so. I mean, I hope you're setting a better example, but we're only on episode 1 of season 6, and it appears that you are not. Anyway, so let's flash forward now because I left shit out. But anyway, so it's now nighttime, and the ladies are about to cook their own dinner in front of this bonfire. So they're all around the bonfire, and Angie gave them hot dogs. And I always forget that Mary's a vegetarian because she had Boca burgers. So they're sitting there trying to cook this food in front of an open fire. I was cracking up because Mary was like, "So we really have to cook our own food?" Mary's like, "You know what? I'm gonna just starve tonight." She starts eating a dry ass bagel. And then at one point they realize Heather's like, "So Angie, are there no hot dog buns?" And she just starts laughing. "Angie, you fired as the host of the trip. Girl, you forgot the main, how you get the hot dogs but not the buns. You bought bagels but no hot dog buns." Okay. This scene had me cracking up. So anyway, so Heather goes, "Look, you guys, I'm helping Bronwyn with her hot dogs." And they were like, "Oh, a little bonding on the kayak." So Angie goes, "So Heather, do you think that you would be like this with Bronwyn if Lisa were here?" So of course Heather didn't like that. And she's Angie, that's a shitty thing to say. Of course I would. Angie's like, "Okay, well, you're different when she's around." And she goes, "So you mean you would be this way if Lisa were here? You would still be nice to Bronwyn?" And Heather is like, "Listen, if we had the same moment that we had on the kayak, then yes. Like, I don't appreciate you saying that." But Heather, it's what you do. You've been doing that. Like you've been doing that. So while they're kind of talking about that, Brittany's ass chimes in. Well, I have something to say. So out of nowhere, this Brittany girl, whatever planet you're on, come back down to Earth. Let's orbit in the let's just be in the Milky Way. Can you do that? Can you be in the Milky Way with us? So Brittany's like, I don't appreciate what you said to me earlier, Whitney. Girl, no one was even talking about that. So she brings up that she's like, well, Whitney, you said that I sleep with Jared for money. And Angie's like, no, she said, do you suck dick for money? So Whitney's like, I'm sorry, but you brought up my business and what's going on with my businesses. And and Brittany's like, well, I don't like what you said. Why do you care about what I do for work? And so Whitney's like, I'm sorry, but you were coming for me, so I came back for you. And Brittany's like, well, I didn't like that you were talking about Lisa's business. And Whitney's like, I don't care. Like you came for my business. And she goes, listen, the reality is we lost everything. So this is when Whitney reveals that what was it, Wild Rose, I can't remember what the name of her company was, but remember when her husband lost his job and then he put in whatever, they went all in on that business. And she's saying that the business fell flat. She's never felt like that in their life. And she's like, they're flat broke. I respect her for being upfront about that. So we definitely know that you were on this show for your life. Literally, you are lip syncing for your life, girl. Well, not lip syncing for your life, I just like saying that from the RuPaul's Drag Race. But anyway, um, so and it's funny. This is why Lisa Barlow can't touch Whitney, because Lisa has secrets. Whitney does not, and we all know why she's still mad at Whitney because of what she said last year about that whole alleged threesome and other situation. Which Whitney, no offense, baby, but if I was Lisa, I would have knocked you the fuck out if you had said some shit like that to me on national TV. And judging by her and listen, judging by Lisa's reaction, it was giving it might be true because she got upset. So anyway, this is when Whitney proceeds to read Brittany's ass for her error. She tells her, she's like, you have no idea what I went through with my business and us failing. She's like, I had to get rid of all these employees, the customers, we lost millions, and now I'm having to start over. And she's like, this is why I was upset that you're coming at me and you don't know the facts. Bronwyn has the facts when it comes to Lisa. This is what I'm alluding to with her. She has multiple lawsuits, but she doesn't talk about it, but she's quick to talk about our failures. I really like this conversation because then it really switched and they were talking about the failures. And Heather's like, what a lot of people don't realize is you're going to fail a lot before you get to a successful spot in your life, specifically with businesses. We're always talking about the wins, but never the losses. And she's right about that. I had this conversation the other night. I said, listen, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Failure is a part of growth. It's a part of success. It's a part of learning. The whole key of failure is to fail higher every time. Make the mistakes better. Don't go back. Always go forward. Fail forward. And then eventually you'll stop failing. You learn from them. You do better. You come out better. So they're all talking about that. And Angie says, I commend you, Whitney, for being open about this because, it's a tough subject. And Whitney kind of starts tearing up because she's like, I have a lot on my plate. And then she says in her confessional, she's like, not only did I fail my customers, my employees, but I let down my family. And I get it. That's a lot of pressure because it's a lot of pressure. So Brittany's ass is over there like, oh, I'm sorry, Whitney. You're right. I don't know the facts. I'm sorry. Brittany, you are crazy. So she walks over to Whitney to console her and like gives her a hug. And Whitney just stops. She's like, then Brittany's like, I'm sorry, I just wanted to console you. I'm sorry. And they're just kind of calling her out like, you was just talking shit to her. Now you're like, well, I can still console her and be mad. Brittany, girl, if you don't go sit down somewhere, oh my God, girl. I don't get Brittany, girl, whatever. So of course Whitney is like, can we just get through this? She's like, and they're all kind of, calling Brittany's stupid ass out. And again, she's like, well, I can still, what did she say? I can still give you sympathy and call out the shitty thing that you said. And they're just like, cause she believes she's owed an apology for the sucking dick comment. So she says in her confessional, like, why is it that Whitney can say what she wants, but when I say something, it's like it's the worst thing ever? She was responding, you started it. Did you forget that? You're the one that came at her about her business, so she hit you back with something hard and you couldn't handle it. And now you're getting called out again because you're it comes off like you're fake. You can't bring that up, sling mud at somebody. Then they explain why they came at you the way that they did because you started it. And then you learn that she's really dealing with some serious shit. And which you probably wouldn't have shared had your ass not done all that. And then you want to go over there and try to console her? Girl, shut up. Girl, bye. So as she's saying that, because she's like, Brittany's just trying to defend herself. And, I didn't like that you were slinging mud at Lisa and all this stuff. So Meredith's like, Brittany, we don't want to hear it. So then they kind of start going at it. But here's my thing, Meredith, you started talking shit first. And then when Brittany came back, it's, I'm not interested. Well, you are interested because you said something. So they're kind of going back and forth. And Brittany's like, I don't understand, Meredith, you and I were friends. And Meredith's like, we were never friends. I went out with you twice, girl. Brittany, you're a trip. Are you one of these people like, Brittany, are you the dude at the club that buys a girl a drink and all of a sudden y'all go together in his head? Are you one of those? Are you that type? Because that's what it's giving. That is what it's giving. You said y'all were close and good friends. You went out twice and maybe talk on the phone a few times. That doesn't make you good friends. So anyway, as they had alluded to earlier in the episode, they're over there in this like Provo Canyon, and Heather's bringing up this Mormon fundamentalist named Molly Sorensen, who apparently legend has it that she was I guess unalive for being a good time girl. So I guess her spirit wreaks havoc over there. It apparently would attack the girls that went to BU that were good time girls and all that. So they kind of end the episode with all the camcorders doing a little homage to Blair Witch. That was what I got from it. Um, First episode is 54 minutes long, so they were like, we're gonna give it to you long, and we gonna do what we got to do. Um, I'm excited for this season. It's gonna be interesting with Lisa Barlow because she is definitely in the hot seat this season, for sure. Um, I love Salt Lake City, the Salt Wives, if I call them, as I like to refer to them. But this was a fun episode. Can't wait for episode 2. Anyway, it's been a lovely week. Sorry this was late. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Be nice to each other, stay hydrated, and I'm going to go return these videotapes.